Dr. René Lemachon, recipient of Melville J. Herkowitz Award for his book Rwanda and Burundi, dedicated his professional life to examining Burundi's haunted history. Lemachon explained that anywhere between 200,000 and 300,000 Hutu civilians were brutally massacred by a Tutsi-dominated army during the 1972 genocide of Burundi. Weapons and violence decimated this region, leaving behind mass graves filled with human remains. Burundian families were left to live through the aftermath and accept that they were never able to properly bury their fathers, their brothers, their sons, their husbands, their nephews, or their loved ones. Now, after 50 years of suffering and silence, genocide survivors are finally sharing their testimonies. Dr. Janine Teregeza, professor at NEIU and director of the Genocide and Human Rights Research in Africa and Diaspora, known as the GRAD Center, organized a research team made up of students and professors. Everyone traveled to Burundi in December of 2022. These are their stories.
Colette,
my name is Colette Nisubire.
Do you willingly consent to report to us without any coercion?
Yes, she said yes.
Why do you consider it important to make your report accessible worldwide?
So that the truth can be known. My father was a good parent.
Physically,
He was physically handsome and he had a good heart. He loved his children. And then they start taking people from their homes to the commune. They told us that they were from Rumonge and they came to kill people. Those rebels called Murele. If they go, they could not be back. We stayed there and we learned that this is happening in other places, that they took people and they never be back. They killed many. And they killed one ethnic group, the Hutu. It was ordered by the administration. It was even not allowed to learn about the person we lost because it was prohibited.
Hearing Colette's story made me want to reach out to Barbara Jones, the Northeastern Illinois University master's student who conducted this interview.
They put it into the Tutsis' heads that they were superior to the Hutus. But this man in front of us, he was 72 years old. He said he was a college student when the Tutsis came after them. He ran out with other people running, trying to get away. He was caught. There was a woman running ahead of him that had a child tied to his back. Someone threw a spear and hit the child. They put this man in a solitary confinement type of deal. They put him in there for 371 days. And then he said from time to time they would come in and beat him.
Interviewing Barbara Jones inspired me to reach out to Patrick Hajandi, the senior project leader for the Institute for Justice and Reconciliation. Hajandi spoke with NEIU's research team. He also compiled a body of research entitled Wounded Memories: Perceptions of Past Violence in Burundi and Perspectives for Reconciliation.
They have never tried to write down the names of people who have been killed. So there is nothing which has been done, although they stayed in power. And that's really one of the things which people tend just to overlook. You know that a group of people committed genocide, and you have power to bring them to justice. I don't see any reason that will prevent you from doing that. So there are things people ignore, but which are very important.
Gathering and sharing stories required cooperation and dedication from many people, like Sarah Dendelis. Sarah is an NEIU grad student who helped gather testimonies in Burundi during the 2002 research trip.
That people just don't talk about the 1972 genocide. Even though the UN has named it a genocide, historians have been talking about it as a genocide. Now, 50 years after the genocide in Burundi, no one has been talking about it. Our job in going there is to bring these stories to a place of safe keeping, because it was a history that affected the entire nation and the region. And we need to bring the stories to light, because in fleeing and in not talking about it, they've been buried away, but they are insidious. You know, they will affect the future. And we see that it has throughout the history of those 50 years.
At the 9th Annual Genocide and Human Rights Conference hosted in Northeastern Illinois University's Alumni Hall, Dr. David Ragland spoke about the imperative need for accurate and truthful information. Dr. David Ragland is one of the co-founders and co-executive directors of the Truth Telling Project. The Truth Telling Project is set out to help people understand institutional racism and the pervasive impact violence has on families and communities. This organization wants to work with educators and hopes to change the historical narrative and ensure that future generations have truthful, accurate historical information. Dr. David Ragland's powerful speech made me reflect on my own children and what historical misinformation they might be exposed to. And while I couldn't take them to Burundi, I did take them on our own research trip. It was to our local library. Okay, so we're about 20 minutes into our research trip, and I've lost my team, but I did find a ton of books about Africa that I'm excited to read with my group, if I can find them again. All joking aside, it's never too early to teach children the power of historical information and critical thinking. While it may seem unconventional for somebody like me, a mom of 3 who's going to school and works 2 jobs, to become incredibly invested in something like this, I want to make it perfectly clear. All humans, no matter what race, gender, creed, or religion they are, should care about human rights. My hope is that I can continue to conduct my own research in Burundi this year. Until then, to be continued.